Hello, 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 everyone. Hope you're doing very, very well. It's been a very long time since I've recorded one of these. Welcome to another episode of Azren's Journal, episode number 50. Big number 50. Hope you're having a fantastic start to the new year, to 2020. If you're watching this in 2020, who knows when you're actually watching this? Perhaps you're binge watching through all of the Azren's Journals videos. At some other point in time or some other year. If you are new to the segment, pretty straightforward. This is the segment on my YouTube channel where I share my personal language learning journey and, of course, give you a whole bunch of different language learning tips. First and foremost on the list today, I want to give you just a couple of life updates in general. So first and foremost, this is an important point on navigating this YouTube channel, actually. If you go to my YouTube channel page, hello, lolly in the chat. If you go to my YouTube channel page, it's very important. You're going to see playlists. Those playlists is the best way that you can actually navigate through my content. There's a lot of content on this YouTube channel, from language learning advice videos, from the free courses that I'm putting together, from English videos, from stuff with me speaking in Spanish, stuff with me speaking in French. So I highly recommend that when you're going through my content, that's probably the easiest way to find what you're looking for. And yeah, find what you're looking for. Also, on the personal language learning note, it's funny. I've been hit and miss on some of my language learning. So let's do a little bit of a state of the union. As you guys know, at this point, I am currently most focused on French, on Gujarati and Mandarin. Those are my two biggest language learning focuses at this time. Mandarin is going okay, like it's going fine. As you know, I'm taking some classes at the University of Calgary, which has been good, and they've been keeping me on track, and I'm putting the time in. But I've got to be honest with you guys, and maybe you guys can relate. It's really difficult sometimes to find that exact rhythm to be putting in all of the time in the right way and really doing everything you can to progress in that language in an effective way. It's so funny. I was looking at this today. I have studied Mandarin approximately, if I had to take a guess, I did some approximations and looked at some numbers. Approximately, I've studied about 800-ish hours of Mandarin. But when I was sitting down and thinking about it, like, a lot of those hours were not very effective. They were not the most effective things I could have been doing to practice or learn the language, which is fine. It's not a bad thing. I learned from them. And clearly in the moment when I was putting those hours in, I thought they'd be effective. But in hindsight, I'm like, I could have been more effective, and I could have made way more progress in the time that I have, considering the hours that I have put in. And I think, this is a great time to say that hindsight is 2020. When we look back at a lot of our language learning things, when we look back at everything, that's kind of when we realize that, I could have done that better. I could have done this better. I could have done that better. Oh, okay. And it's just been a reminder for me as well. Gujarati, I've not really been putting any crazy focus on it for a while now. Every now and then I'll read something online. I will do some practice. I'll watch some videos, but nothing overly focused in terms of study. However, I do have a really cool Gujarati update for everybody. I posted it to my Instagram, my Facebook, and potentially to Snapchat. I don't remember. I'm going to open it on my phone. I'll show it to you. I gave a 3-minute talk in pure Gujarati, only Gujarati, at my grandparents' 50th wedding, for my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary. So check this out. I will show it to you so you guys can see. I won't show you the whole thing because most of you probably won't understand what's going on, but I'll show you it here. Dun, dun, dun. Boom. So there it is. Now, I actually recommend for a lot of you that you record a lot of your speech in another language. I think it's a very effective thing to do. When I watched that and I was watching myself talk, I think it's really good considering the effort I've put in. It's a real good testament of kind of where my level is at this time, which is fantastic. But I can also see the mistakes I make. I can see the gaps I still have. I can see where, oh, this is where I can still improve. And I recommend that a lot of you guys actually record yourselves in whatever languages you're learning too. I think it can be very useful for you guys. With all that said, let's jump into the topic of this, the main topic of this video, the title of this video with all of those initial things aside, which is how long it takes to learn another language. I think that is what I named this video. I sure hope it's what I named this video because that's what I wanted to talk about. If it's not, I'm going to change the name so that by the time you're watching this, that's what the title is going to be. So it's one of those age-old questions, how long does it take? And after 12 years of me personally being very, very interested in language learning, being passionate about language learning, me learning languages on my own, trying to learn different things, me having learned French, Spanish, Mandarin, Gujarati, still working on 2 of those, but having learned those to a reasonably high level, to a respectable level minimally for 4 languages, and after roughly more than 3,000 hours of teaching experience and some research I've done on this topic and different websites and listening to other people's opinions, I've come down to a little bit of a guideline that I think is going to work really well for you guys. So the guideline works like this. To achieve an A1 level in another language, it's going to take more or less 100 guided learning hours. For an A2, it's going to take roughly 200 guided learning hours. A B1 will take approximately 400 guided learning hours. B2, approximately 800 guided learning hours. C1, approximately 1,200 guided learning hours. And C2, I've actually gone back and forth in my mind. It's so funny. I have an opinion, and then I kind of changed it. And so I'm stuck between 2 numbers. I'm stuck between 1,600 guided learning hours and 2,000 guided learning hours. Now, guided learning hours is any study that you do under the supervision or under the direction or guidance of an experienced teacher. Or I think as well, what could also fit into here is any kind of study at home programs, any structured, well-made, proper study at home programs. It does not include any random self-study that you do. It does not include random scrolling through Duolingo. It does not include random music that you listen to in the background. I mean, that's great and that's helpful and that's amazing, but I'm saying these guided learning hours based on teaching, based on homework that you're doing, assigned by a teacher, based on programs you're going through, based on kind of strategic study, let's call it, in quotations, right? I think the A1 and A2 levels, those beginner 2 levels of a language, can be accomplished faster. I think the 100 hours for A1, 200 hours for A2, for some people could be done a little faster. I think it's doable for sure. But I do think that I heard a funny noise. I do think that the further you go up the levels, the further you go up, the harder it is to kind of shave down on those times. So it's harder to achieve a B2 in less than 800 hours than it is to achieve an A1 in less than 100 hours. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Additionally, I think that the C1 and C2 levels, I'm 80% sure on those numbers that I shared, the amount of hours that it takes, 80% sure. I do have a slight 20% doubt. I think that there might be some slush room. It might take a little more, might take a little less. I'm not 100% sure. I feel 80%, which is confident enough for me to make this video and kind of say those numbers. I think they're pretty damn close. But I'm not sure if those are the exact numbers. A lot of websites, these aren't like academic studies, but a lot of websites you read will often say that it takes less time for C1, C2. I strongly disagree with that. I don't think that's quite right. Again, maybe I'll change my mind on those in the future, but where it stands today, I feel reasonably confident about those numbers that I shared. And I think it's a great guideline. I think it's a very, very good guideline that people can follow when you are going through your personal language learning journey. Changing gears one last time, then we'll wrap this video up. I want to talk about a couple of personal things in my life, give some updates that are more life, business, and stress related. So lately, a really big focus of mine has been growth in my business. Growth in terms of number of students, and actually more specifically, not number of students, but growth in terms of how much income and profit there is. Growth in terms of and then growth in terms of like brand awareness. How many people follow my content? How many people attend our free classes? How many people just know about what we're doing, what I'm doing here, and have view it in a positive light and are happy with the work we're doing? So two different pillars: brand awareness, sales, and profit. Two pillars I'm very focused on. And it's interesting because I'm trying to grow them, but at the same time, the balancing point, which creates a bit of tension in my mind and almost a little bit of stress, to be honest, is trying to balance all the growth, but doing the growth in the right way. So a great example is if I were to earn extra money this year, let's say I made an extra $10,000, which would be a life-changing and amazing, like, wow, that would be a crazy. If I made an extra $10,000, like, oh my God, in the year, that would be, I keep hearing funny noises. Anyway, that would be amazing, right? But at the same time, if I got there by not paying people enough money, like the teachers who work for me, I wouldn't feel good. That's not the right way to get there. Or let's say that we had more students. I got a lot more students, but then I was, let's call it spamming, or let's say I was promoting things way too much for my own personal comfort on my social networks. I wouldn't feel good about that. Or, I want to have more people who watch my content. But to do that, I make changes. I dress up a certain way. I act a way that is not myself, and I get that growth. I don't feel quite as good about that growth, Like so it's a kind of a balance point of having more growth in terms of sales, profit, brand awareness, but also making sure that I'm staying true to myself and that I'm happy with how that growth is happening. I'm enjoying the process. And the biggest factor is patience. I know at an intellectual level, I'm like 98% sure, maybe even 100% at an intellectual level, that the growth I have, if I hit a certain level of growth by the age of 29 versus the age of 31, by the time I'm 49, I'm not going to care if it happened at 39 or if it happened at 29 or 31. It doesn't, what happens on a year by year basis, not just in language and like business, but I think in life, what happens on a year by year basis is not something you care about in the long term. When you're 52, you're not going to care if you got married at 22, 25, or 27, or 29. You're not going to care. It's not going to make a difference. You'll say, whatever, 27, 25, it's all the same. If you don't believe me, think about when you talk to people in high school or people who are younger than you, and they're like, oh, I'm so stressed about my diplomas or my blah, blah, blah exam, or I'm so stressed about SATs, I'm stressed about blah, blah, blah. When you're like 35 and you're looking back, you're like, you'll be fine. Don't worry. You're okay. No need to get stressed. Like that's how it is, right? Which logically means that everything you struggle with now, when you look back at it in the future, you're like, it's going to be fine. It's okay. It didn't matter. So a lot of the mental tension that I have today, I know intellectually is not merited. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. Like I'm going to look back. It's not going to matter. And I just have to keep reminding myself and win that mental battle. I almost feel like every single day with me is a big, like, it's kind of like my days are like adventures through magical forests where there's like monsters and there's treasure chests and there's yummy juice, but there's also poisonous rivers and there's all sorts of stuff every single day. And stuff happens. I'm like, oh my God, that's so frustrating. But then I go into like my own head and I'm like, okay, is it really frustrating? Let's process through it. I process it. Then I feel really happy. And I'm like, yeah, I feel really happy, on fire. I get this email. I'm like, oh, that's a challenge. Huh, interesting. Deal with that. Make some videos. I get a cool idea. There's so much happens. It's such a fast process every day that, even though I'm stressed in this moment, I know in the next hour and a half, I'll be just fine. Interesting, right? So, all right, it's 4:08 p.m. as I'm sitting here. I've got to leave my house at 4:45. I need to eat and do a slight amount of lesson preparation before I go. And so I'm going to wrap this video up here. I appreciate all of your attention. You guys are the best. And we'll talk. Oh, last thing. Free courses update. As you guys know, I'm making the free courses on my YouTube channel, the French and Spanish ones. You guys have probably seen it. Haven't made a video for those to continue in a while, but they will be coming. Don't worry. I'll just be really open. I'm kind of out of a rhythm with those videos. I had a great rhythm. I'm kind of out of that rhythm. I'm gonna get back into the rhythm. I just need to get myself mentally there. They're coming. Don't worry. It's not going anywhere. I promise to finish it. So yeah. Anyway, appreciate your attention. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk soon. Bye.